I told you, the Mustangs under Rhett Lashley were going to be here. But here is the interesting thing. In all seriousness, and all jokes aside, Joe, this is a big matchup in the ACC, man. No, whether you want to slice it or dice it. Here we go. Pitt versus SMU. How do you see it going down?
Yeah, I've been trying to get a pulse on how this game was going to play out because, frankly, I mean, they both have beaten up a bit on easy schedules. They both don't exactly scream dominant, undefeated team or highly ranked team, rather. One thing that stood out to me with SMU is that the run defense is phenomenal. They're only allowing 88 rush yards per game, 2.7 yards per carry, which is fantastic. Isaiah Smith, Elijah Roberts, who we highlighted in the preseason, we knew that they were gifted players. You know, we knew that they were going to be highly dominant. But what's been really impressive to me with Pitt is that they're generating turnovers, they're swinging games in their favor, and they're finding ways to grit out wins. That, to me, shows up, and I think that it's going to show up in this situation in a road game. I also think, too, Eli Holstein's the better quarterback in this matchup. Kevin Jennings, who took over for Preston Stone, is a phenomenal player so far this year, but I think that Eli Holstein's the better of the two in this matchup and could win them the game if they need to, as he's done so this season. I don't know if I really have a pick or not yet, but I think that the fact that SMU is at home does certainly give them a benefit.
It gives them a benefit for this massive reason, too. You ready? There is a massive glaring weakness with Pitt. Do you want to know what it is?
What?
Their pass defense is insanely bad. Joe, they're 111th in passing yards allowed. So
it's not exactly the game that they're going to be stressed.
I know it's not the game that's going to be stressed, but here's the problem. With a secondary that can be that bad, a guy that struggles throwing the football around at times, it makes shit easier for him. Right? Like, I mean, it's going to make shit easier for him. So I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but it's not as if that they have not been throwing the football around either. I mean, they've been about average. I mean, they're 56th in the country in passing yards, meaning SMU. They still have those air raid principles. And Joe, that is why Pitt has had to come back in with these miraculous games, because their secondary gets torched. At some live long day, they get torched, and then here comes Eli Holstein and company having to save the day. That is the microcosm of the Pitt Panthers football this year. So I'm with you. I don't have a pulse on it. Both secondaries really have been very bad. SMU's is 99th. It's not like it's anything special. But you mentioned something here that I fully agree with and why I would lean Pitt. I just trust Eli Holstein a little bit more, right? Like, and that's not to say that like the other guy don't. Jennings. I just trust Eli more. The thing that's interesting with SMU, though, Joe, is SMU is 5th in the country in run defense. And if Eli Holstein doesn't and he's not able to play off the run, I do question what happens there. Like, really, I do.
Yeah, if they can bottle up Desmond Reed, who's been a phenomenal just weapon for Pitt, former Western Carolina football player who was great at the FCS level last year. If they can bottle him up, it does make things harder. I don't know if we've like really truly seen Eli Holstein have to do everything on his own. And the other part of this, Blake, and I think now that the more we talk this through, I kind of have to go with SMU because it feels like Pitt, a lot of the games that they've had recently, a lot of them they're scraping by. And
I just convinced you to go with SMU.
No. I convinced myself. The Syracuse game is very recent bias that we have because of how badly they turned over Kyle McCord and how much they just dominated defensively.
Think about this. That's what Pitt Panthers fans are going to come in here and say. We had 5 picks. Our secondary doesn't suck.
There's some mediocre teams, though, that they're barely scraping by against. Cincinnati is one of them.
How many yards did Cincinnati throw for?
298.
Okay. Name the other team. How much did they throw?
West Virginia threw for 210.
Garrett Green threw for 210 yards?
He only threw for 210. Fernando Mendoza of Cal in a 2-point win had 272. So I don't feel great that Pitt's been one of these teams that eventually, like, this is an example of a team where the bottom falls out at a certain point. Your luck runs out, the turnover luck, all of those things, it falls apart. I feel bad, though. I feel dirty because, Narduzzi, former Rhode Island football player, I should be supporting him, but I'm leaning SMU as we're talking about this.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can pick against the Lashley, man. I can't do it. Mustangs.
And don't.
Mustangs.
Is that your pick? That's your confirmed pick?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Mustangs, too. I think another thing, too, Joe, their D-line, SMU's D-line is a little bit more athletic than anybody's giving it credit for. They got some freak of natures up there. I mean, they've recruited well, man. They've recruited really well. So we'll see. It would not – let me say this, though, because I feel like Pitt Panther fans are going to hate me on this. I really do not, and I mean this, I really, really do not or would not be shocked if which either team wins here, though. Nothing would surprise.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's no. I'm not confident in either direction. That's the last thing I agree with. I don't think there's a clear answer. I think Pitt has shown that they can scrap things out and finish games and win the same way that SMU has been dominant in certain areas. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
I know you do because it's the right take.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.